Welcome, everybody, to Wager Talk Today. I'm Lawrence Presman, the host of this show. My co-host, Teddy Covers, joining us in 1 minute, and we have an amazing show assembled for you all today. Powerhouse guests, Jimmy Adams coming on right off the bat. He's going to talk about the Tennessee Titans win total, sitting at 7.5. Is it going over? Is it going under? Big game between Cincinnati and Cleveland. Both teams still in the playoff chase. Jimmy's going to look at who will win that game. We've got Bryan Power coming on, and he wants to focus on college football. Ole Miss win total sitting at 7.5. Maryland win total sitting at 7.5. He's going to discuss whether those teams will go over or under that total. And Dave Sharapan at the end of the show, our betting strategy segment. We will talk about what is the best way to go about betting teasers, a question sent in by Chris Lawrence, and a couple other guys wanted to know about that as well, including the 10-point teaser, which we will discuss too. We'll have a What Did Bettors Learn? And Teddy, big game breakdown. What is it going to be on today, brother?
Well, in What Bettors Learn, I'm going to talk about the Iowa State betting scandal because we've got a lot of new information on that that's worthy of discussion. And I thought that would lead nicely into a recommendation in my big game breakdown. We'll talk Iowa versus Utah State, week 1 in college football. Coming up right here on Wager Talk Today.
You guys are watching the best daily all sports betting show on the planet. Before we bring our first guest, Jimmy Adams, in, I'd like to ask you all to kindly smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, tell your friends about us. That would be greatly appreciated. Now, Teddy, we've gone through this many times. For all you people who don't know, I used to do television. I was a football picker for the Canadian ESPN. Plus, I did some other stuff. And I used to wear a blazer. And I was taught a little trick. Teddy, show us the trick. There you go. There you go.
It still doesn't work.
Left
this jacket's
side.
A little bit so
right side is better. It's too short.
This jacket looks way better standing up than it does sitting down. And the next time I go out and buy new jackets, I'm not going to stand up. I'm going to sit down. But what am I going to do? I get you. You're supposed to sit.
Anyway, guys, the trick in case you find yourself in Teddy's position is sit on the back of your jacket. It drops the delts down, and you don't get that crunch at the top. Jimmy Adams joining us. Jimmy, how are you today, my friend? It's $2 Tuesday, and you are that guy.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. That was a huge day at Wager Talk. In action for $2 Tuesday and baseball. Hopefully get you a couple free winners here.
Teddy, Jimmy, you're in and out microphone-wise. Let's hope that doesn't continue. Anyway, let's get into the show, man. You want to talk about Tennessee Titans, and this is a team that fascinates me. It's a team that I've been high on for the last few years, but really now it could be, a transitioning year. They tried to get rid of Tannehill. They tried to get rid of Henry. Henry's still, They've really revamped this team. I don't know what to make of them this year. It's going to be curious. I do know this. I'm happy to play any game that's in the under 48 range with this team. That is for sure. Jimmy, over or under 7.5 wins on the season?
Yeah, so I bet the Titans over their season win total sitting at 7.5, and I feel like Tennessee is slightly undervalued entering 2023. So the Titans started 7-3. They had a cluster of injuries, including quarterback Ryan Tannehill. They're saying that it was an embarrassing stretch to end the year. Look, Josh Dobbs and Malik Willis are not NFL QB. So let's start with the obvious, right? The AFC South, one of the weakest divisions in football. Tennessee has the third easiest schedule in the entire NFL, according to the ratings that I use, and a decent chance to win this division. I also bet them to do that. I got plus 400. It was plus 350 at DraftKings last I looked. The fact that Levis was drafted is automatically, I think, going to up the game of Tannehill, who's in his final stint with the team most likely and probably auditioning for other teams this year. Now has DeAndre Hopkins to throw to. They've reconstructed the offensive line, can only get better. And let's not forget that Derrick Henry used to bulldoze opposing defenses over 1,500 yards last year. Defensively, there are some concerns in the secondary, but the Titans finished number 1 in the NFL in rush yards allowed per game and 3rd in defensive third down conversion percentage. Mike Vrabel actually has a straight-up record as an underdog, and I think people are opting a bit to how things ended in 2022. Titans bounce back this season. They go over their season win total of 7.5.
So when I look at Tennessee's schedule, it makes me very reluctant to play them over. They start off at New Orleans, then the Chargers, at Cleveland, Cincy, at Indy, Baltimore. That feels to me like a 2-4/1-5 start before the bye, and it feels to me like a reasonable chance that Ryan Tannehill is no longer the starting quarterback and they move to the QB of the future, whether it's Levis or somebody else, by the bye week. Is that a concern for you that Tennessee could go in either direction this year? Yes, if things break right for them, they want to contend. But if things don't break right for them early, they're likely to enter rebuilding mode. How worried are you about that for a team lined at 7.5 wins?
So I like what you said about the schedule to open the season. But I do not think they will be turning to a backup quarterback just because of the division. I mean, you got the Colts, rookie quarterback. Hopefully they start Anthony Richardson. That's going to be a disaster for Indianapolis. Texans, new head coach, rookie quarterback there. And then we've got differing opinions on the Jags. Some people think they're going to be pretty good. I think their win total sitting at 9.5. So Tennessee very much will be live in the division for the entire year, in my opinion. And for that reason, I don't think they just hand the reins over to Will Levis or someone like that, just because they're going to have such a great chance to make the playoffs with these weak teams, these weak, young, new teams in the division. So Tennessee rolls.
Jimmy Adams, everybody. Jimmy, unbelievable NFL season last year. A number 1 handicapper at WagerTalk in NFL last season. Give us your record and tell us what the clients should expect this coming season.
Yeah, up 55 units over the course of the season, 55.6, 64.3% on the year. You can expect about 5 plays a week from me this season. And we have a great promo up right now, $2 play. You get $150 off the entire NFL season through the Super Bowl. Just use the promo code Adams50. So make sure you grab the $2 play and the entire season. We had a great year last year. We're going to run it back again.
Guys, I want to apologize for Jimmy Adams' audio today. We are getting through it. It is terrible. Jimmy will fork out some more money and buy better internet for next week. Right, Jimmy?
Yeah. I mean, I got one gig. Problem is with, come on, Cox, what are you guys doing? I can't tell it's bad, but yeah, I apologize, guys.
Yeah, Jimmy hates Cox, everybody. Okay, so Cincinnati, Cleveland. Jimmy, this is a game that people are already chatting about in the chat room. One of our listeners likes Cleveland as a dog. I don't know, teacup poodle, dead one, because they ain't a dog. One of them likes Cincinnati. I think the under is in play here. 2 really, really good pitchers on the mound. Cleveland, 4th worst run score team in the league. I think the under is the play in this game. I'm curious where you're going.
So 2 teams that have been in regression mode, they're going to meet up tonight for a 2-game, starting a 2-game set. I'm looking to side with Cincinnati. We've already seen the line flip. And look, things are only going to get worse for Logan Allen. He's got a 4.09 FIP, significantly higher than his ERA. All of his analytics rate average to below average. a poor whiff percentage, gives up too many barrels, a OBA that's too high, et cetera, et cetera. Allen had some success. He's had some success because he did a decent job of changing up speeds, but we've seen teams like the Royals and White Sox knock him around recently, and the Reds absolutely can and will tonight as well. Throw out Graham Ashcraft's numbers when you look at them on the surface. He had a stretch in the middle of the season where he was just really, really bad, but he's figured that out now. Ashcraft's now allowed 2 runs or fewer in 7 of his past 8 starts. He allowed 3 in the other one. We have a big enough sample size of consistent domination to make him a bet-on pitcher against the Guardians offense that, like you mentioned, has scored the 4th fewest runs in all of baseball this year. And don't forget, they lost some key bats at the deadline. Rosario gone, Josh Bell now in a Miami uniform. There's a huge discrepancy between 2 offenses. Reds top 10 in OPS with the 6th most scored in baseball, still very much fighting for a spot. Offense will be the difference tonight. Reds beat the Guardians in game.
Eddie?
Jimmy Adams says, look at Cincinnati tonight against Cleveland in MLB action. Jimmy, you said you're the $2 Tuesday handicapper over at WagerTalk.com. Anything else you'd like to promote?
Not really, guys. Sorry about the audio issues. Having me. Grab the play for $2. Grab the season. MLB rolling. Appreciate it.
Jimmy Adams, everybody. Outstanding stuff, guys. If you've never bought from Wager Talk Today, it's $2 Tuesday. We get our best handicapper, or not our best, but the hottest handicapper at that time. We make him the $2 Tuesday handicapper. Jimmy Adams is that guy today. He's got a 5% NFL play, goes in week 1. It's only $2. I would say it's the price of a cup of coffee or a chocolate bar or a bag of chips, but Teddy and I are too old. It used to be the price of that. Now I can't even think of one single thing that you can buy for under $2. But either way, it's $2. Please head over to Wager Talk. Take advantage of that. And also, we have 2 experts for $3 over at Sports Memo. Ross Benjamin with a 4% MLB best bet, and Cajun Sports with a 4% NFL preseason play. $2 at Wager Talk, $3 at Sports Memo. Please take advantage of that. Teddy Covers, what did we learn in the wonderful world of sports betting?
Well, we need to talk about this Iowa State betting scandal. And it feels like the first one since sports betting was legalized that has a little bit of teeth. Probably won't be the last. And we've seen a handful in the last 30 years, Arizona State, Toledo. You know, this one's in Iowa, which is not exactly the epicenter of the media universe, which is probably good for sports betting. And it certainly allowed both Kirk Ferentz and Matt Campbell. Look, Matt Campbell's in the going somewhere category. Ferentz in the living legend category. To see these two coaches deal with it is something problematic. That being said, this isn't, this has some teeth. Does not mean it's a major betting scandal. The deal. And he's got caught. There was a basketball player. There was a football player. The starting quarter, Hunter Deckers, was the biggest bettor of the group. There were lots of guys who made 740 bets and 1,850 bets that averaged $11 a bet or averaged $5 a bet, those type of things. But there was activity in the locker rooms, and there was activity on Iowa State games. And that's a concern. You don't, in theory, I wouldn't mind if every player bet on their team prior to kickoff. I really wouldn't. But theory and practice, 2 different things. And in practice, I don't think that's realistic. So you don't want the kids betting on the games. You certainly don't want the underage kids betting, and that's what's going on here. In an interview, Matt Holt, friend of the show, friend of mine, the U.S. Integrity founder, talked about how they got caught. Quote, a state regulator decided to look at why they were getting all these logins from these facilities, meaning on campus, at a time where there were no events going on. And because they looked and found all the information, they had to hand it over to the investigating party. When the DCI looked at age verification, people using other people's accounts, because that's a crime, whether they're betting on their own team or not. And that's why the investigation took off. And, he added some more detail. If they're logging in from the field, gymnasium, practice facility, or arena at a time where there's no fans, no vendors, no real security, it's really easy to catch. And that's going to spark things for these state regulators who are going to say, why are we getting 200 logins from the men's locker room at Iowa State right now? So we know how they got caught. We know what they did. How bad is it? And again, you don't want underage kids betting, and you don't want people betting on or against their teams, which clearly happened here. So it's pretty bad. That said, when a kid's making a $5 bet on his team for in a bowl game, I'm not freaking out about it. And the vast majority of these instances appear to be that sort of wager. There's no evidence of it in any sort. There's game fixing, game throwing, etc. So not good, but on the pantheon of bad things to happen in the sports betting world, the Iowa State scandal, it's scandalous, but it's not outrageous. Lawrence?
Yeah, this is the most overblown stuff. And you spoke about this a few weeks ago. Wow. I watched the Johnny Manziel documentary last night on Netflix, Teddy. It's worth a watch. It was a fun watch. The only problem with it was I think it was a bit too early. I think maybe 5 or 10 years from now would have been better because there was no redemption story at the end. The guy does nothing. His mother is like, the way it ended was Johnny does nothing. He's not mentally ready to do anything. And I felt like there needed to be a bit of redemption. I mean, with that said, it felt like he understood what a mess he had made of his life and the self-sabotaging that he went through. But I don't know. It would have been nice to have had a little bit of redemption there. But it was fun to watch those highlights, man. Wow, was he an excellent college football quarterback.
Sure, I met Johnny Manziel at a betting conference in Costa Rica when he was in the midst of starting his comeback. He was, he'd already been bounced out of the league, and he was starting. He said, yep. I'm going to camp. This was I forget if it was July or August. It was fairly early, but I think he maybe been going to Canada. But he said he was still playing, and then he proceeded to bum a cigarette off of me. And that was when I knew that Johnny Manziel's, and he was a real nice guy, but when you're starting quarterbacks bumming a smoke off, that means he's not going anywhere. And his comeback didn't go anywhere.
Do you know, I don't know if you watched the documentary. Do you know that he didn't watch any film ever? He didn't watch film in college. He did not watch film in the NFL. And he didn't read the playbook. He just wanted to go out there and play, you go deep. You go deep too. You don't go deep. It was, what a mess he made of some incredible talent. Anyway.
Lots of people make messes of their talent in their 20s, Lawrence. You did, I did, they did.
Yeah. The good thing is, we don't only have our 20s, and nor does Johnny, but in football terms, that's all he's got. Bryan Power joining us. Bryan, anything you want to talk about so far that you've heard?
Yeah, I thought bumming a cigarette off Teddy would be something to put on your Wikipedia page, something to brag about. Apparently, it was the end of the guy's career, man. That's
what the hell, Bryan? It's the other way around, dude. Johnny Manziel met the great Teddy Covers, and Teddy Covers gave him a cigarette. That should be on Johnny Manziel's Wikipedia page.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Not Teddy's.
I know. That's what I thought. It would have been like the big cut. You talk about the redemption arc. I thought that would have started it for Johnny football, but no, man. What was in that cigarette?
Yeah. Well, listen. I mean, you literally saw him smoking a joint.
Yeah.
Present day in the video. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Yeah. So, Bri, let's get straight into it, man. We got 2 college football teams that we're going to discuss. We're starting with Ole Miss. They're over and under. A win-loss record is 7.5. Guys, the next one is Maryland. And prior to the show, Teddy said to Bryan, oh, we're going to have a fight on this one. So stay with us for the Maryland over and under win-loss. But let's focus on Ole Miss right off the bat. 7.5, up or down?
Well, here's something Teddy can press me on. Ole Miss, I've got them coming into the year rated as the 5th best team in the SEC. Why is that significant, you ask? Well, it's hard for me to believe that the 5th best SEC team is not going to win at least 8 games. To that point, last year, there were 7 SEC teams, Ole Miss among them, that won 8 or more games. And if you exclude the COVID season of 2020, you'd have to go all the way back to 2004 to find the last time that at least 5 SEC teams didn't win at least 8 games. So if that part of the handicap is true and Ole Miss is a top 5 SEC team, history suggests they're going to win at least 8 games. Now, they did not exactly win the schedule lottery this year because they have to face each of the top 4, Georgia, Bama, LSU, and A&M. But the thing is with this future, Prez, even if they lose all 4 of those games, they can still go over the win total. And I don't think they're going to lose all 4 of those games, by the way, because they're going to be favored in the remaining 8. So having to go to both Georgia and Bama is not great, obviously. But the trip to Bama, when does that take place? Early in the season. As we know right now, it's the big talk in Tuscaloosa, the unsettled quarterback situation. It feels like, there's a lot of people talking about, is Alabama kind of on the decline right now? I think overall the SEC West is far more up for grabs than it's been in years past. LSU, a lot of talent, but they're regression flags. They were a couple plays away from being 7-5 last year. A&M, we know Jimbo can recruit, but can he coach? And I've got some questions about the coordinator hires, whether or not he's going to let Bobby Petrino call plays, because that offense needs an update in College Station. Also, both LSU and A&M come to visit Oxford. Ole Miss is 12-2, their last 14 games there. And earlier, I mentioned Ole Miss won 8 games last year. They were plus 79.4 yards per game. That was 4th best in the conference. Kiffin, say what you will about the guy. He hit the portal hard. He hired away Alabama's defensive coordinator, 7 starters back on that side of the ball. Then you look at this offense, 33.5 points per game last year. More depth at quarterback. And this run game, Teddy, could be as strong as you'll find in the SEC with Judkins behind an experienced offensive line. Ole Miss and the Lane Train over 7.5 wins is the play there.
Do you worry at all about the negative momentum from the back half of last year? This team was, 7-0 to open the season last year, ended up winning only 1 game the rest of the way. And it felt like the offseason trajectory, even with the transfer portal, wasn't a lot of times what I like to see. Are you worried at all that that late season collapse continues into 2023, or that their depth concerns leave us with the potential for another late season collapse this year?
No, I really don't. So Ole Miss was a team actually I wasn't that high on last year. They had, they were kind of playing with fire in that 7-0 start. So I think what we saw down the stretch was maybe just kind of them getting their just desserts. The schedule obviously got harder. And again, I just look at this schedule and, Teddy, you can feel free to correct me if you think differently. I just think other than the top 3 or 4 teams, this SEC isn't as strong as it's been in years past. And as long as Ole Miss takes care of business, wins the games they are favored to win, they should go over this win total rather easily. Because I could see them beating either LSU or A&M at home. Absolutely. And if they win one of those 2 games, this should be easy.
Bryan Power joining us, everyone. Bryan, before we get into your next game, I do want to make mention that our flagship show, our most watched show on our channel on a regular basis is called Bet on It, and it's up. The NFL NFC preview is now up on WagerTalk TV. The AFC preview was loaded up last week. Kelly, Marco, and Joe back in the saddle. Make sure to watch Bet on It, everybody. It is on now on our channel, WagerTalk TV, our YouTube channel. Raven Ron, one of our listeners, viewers, he's here every single day. He writes, his Terps are going to win 9 games. So we've got 7.5 as the total here. Do you agree with Raven Ron or not?
Yeah, me and Raven Ron are on the same page here. So the knock on Maryland, let's just get this out of the way right off the rip, is they cannot beat the big boys. Going back to before Mike Locksley even got here, last 25 games against Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State, right? The three premier teams in that Big Ten East. Maryland is 3-22 against those teams. That's not good. But similar to what we talked about with Ole Miss, even if the Terps failed to win any of those games, they could still go over this win total. In fact, they could lose to all three of those teams another game and still go over the win total. And for what it's worth, you look at those three opponents, Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State. Maryland could not ask for a better spot to get Michigan this year. It is the mother of all sandwich spots, guys. Michigan will be coming off a game at Penn State with Ohio State on deck. No buys involved. So if Maryland was ever to beat Michigan, it might be this year. And I've heard a lot of chatter in the last couple of weeks. We all know that the Big Ten discussion always starts and ends with Michigan and Ohio State. But there's a lot of love for not just Maryland, Penn State, Iowa, and Wisconsin. I could honestly see all four of those teams going over their win total because, again, like I talked about with the SEC, the bottom half of this league looks weak this year. I mean, outside of the top six, there's not a single team that I feel really confident saying, oh, they'll definitely get to a bowl. Now, in terms of Maryland getting to 8 wins, I think they're going to start 5-0. They dominate non-conference games. They open with Towson, Charlotte, and Virginia all at home. All three of those teams stink. And then you got Michigan State and Indiana, two of the weaker Big Ten teams. Okay, you get Ohio State, then that's, you can pencil that in as a loss. But then Illinois, a bye, and Northwestern, we could be looking at 7-1 going into the final 4 games, needing just one win. There's no ranked teams on this schedule other than Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. Again, if they can pull an upset one of those three, Teddy, I think it's a lock. This is one of only 3 teams, Maryland, in the entire Big Ten that returns both its coach and starting quarterback from last year. Like the Terps, there you go, Raven Ron, over 7.5 wins.
Teddy, before you begin, Bryan, a lock? Like a lock? Are you like 14 and just started betting? A lock? You sure this is a lock? A lock.
Perhaps
so
I was a little hyperbolic
there.
The whole, everything every dollar you've ever made, Prez, which is quite a few, I understand.
Yeah. We don't use that nonsense word on this show. Teddy, rip him to shreds.
I shall not. I will ask him about the Maryland Terrapins and my concerns about Maryland going over 7.5 wins. Because look, the Terps have their frontline talent has been there in the Locksley era. What hasn't been there is quality depth. And every year for Maryland, they start out hot and they fall off down the stretch because once the injuries start, they simply don't have enough quality depth to compete. When we look at their schedule, Towson, Charlotte, Virginia, 3 at home. I'll give you 3-0 there. At Michigan State, at home to Indiana, I'll even give you 5-0 there. Now they got to win 3 more. All right? And I'm saying nobody's going to upset Maryland. All right? You have the game at Northwestern. You have the game at Rutgers. What's the other win?
Northwestern, Illinois at home. Did you give me that one?
I'm not giving you that one.
You're not giving me that one. Nebraska?
No.
You're not giving me Nebraska? You're not giving. If they win one of the two, that's 8.
And I'm not giving them. So the answer is one of those two.
Yes, it could be one of those two. Or, I'll throw a question back to you. I'll break the rules here on the show. Am I crazy for thinking that this is the mother of all, like they're getting Michigan in a very advantageous spot? Like you could not ask if you're Maryland to get Michigan in a better spot than what they're getting sandwiched between the Penn State and Ohio State game.
I would say that, except the fact that Maryland gave Michigan everything they could handle last year. You remember that 34-27 game? The Terps.
Absolutely.
So Michigan will not look – I don't expect them to look past Maryland this time around, even in that type of spot. And I'm not convinced Maryland's going to come within a touchdown in Michigan again. No, I'm not.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see. Late in the year, I think we got 7-1. We're going to need one win over those last 4 games.
Yeah.
I guess I'll see you all in November, and we can revisit this take. But I think they get there to at least 8 wins for Maryland. I wouldn't be surprised if they got to 9.
And Bry Fortunot, who is also on our show every single day, says they will beat Illinois and or Nebraska. Bryan, what do you got to promote for our clients?
Yeah, MLB is picking right back up, guys. I avoided the entire first half. I didn't have one bad losing streak. Then, of course, I don't know what happened to me over the All-Star break. We had one, but we're back in business. 7-2, our last 9 on the diamond. I have 2 plays currently up right now, and we may be adding more as the day goes on. So please stay tuned for that. Got an all-access pass right now for just $19. And if you use the code POWER25, you can take 25% off any regularly priced product on my page. That's daily packages, subscriptions. Once again, that code is POWER25.
Love it. Bryan Power, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Teddy, let's welcome everybody in Fort North, Russell, Deck, Raven, Ron, Reed, Larry, Javier, Brendan Leinhart. Haven't seen your name before. Thank you for joining. Chris Peters, hey to you too, my brother. Nice to see your name. Aaron Soman, so many of you guys, Oscar, UC, really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to join us live. For all you people who do not join us live and watch the show, if you've got a BS question, please put it up in our comment section. Please don't forget to like the show, subscribe to our channel, etc., etc. Teddy, let's do the big game breakdown first, and then we'll get into betting strategy with Teddy and the Prez. I hand the mic to you.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. Let's talk week 1, not week 0, week 1. College football. Iowa at home against Utah State. Right now, look at the WagerTalk Live odds screen. There is a split line there. You can go 23, 23 and a half, 24. The Hawkeyes being favored. Total, not split, pretty much sitting at 43 just about everywhere. And look, there's a fair bit of anti-Utah State sentiment in the betting markets. There was the transfer portal was pretty heavy going out of Logan, Utah this past season. And certainly, we're talking about a defense that allowed more than 30 points a game last year. They were 129th in red zone defense a year ago. And when you're talking about a complete influx of new players on opening day, it's got to be a concern. Blake Anderson, head coach, it's a group that's willing to work, great attitudes, and virtually no issues near what we have actually compared to the league. There are a lot of questions there, however. We have 39 new scholarship players and 58 total new players on the roster. That's the largest turnover numbers I've ever dealt with. A group of individuals doesn't typically perform like a tight-knit team. The culture alone of connecting the locker room, connecting the culture, becoming part of the family, that's the dynamic we're all uncertain about. How quickly will this group come together and fight for each other when it really matters most? So yes, there are a fair few concerns about Utah State in week 1. That said, there are even more concerns about Iowa in week 1. And everyone's like, oh, Iowa's focused. Ferentz doesn't have them ready. Look at their track record week 1. All right. Like, oh, well, his son, the OC, is going to get fired. They don't average 25 points a game. This is the game they're going to do it. Utah State doesn't get blown out very often. They had a bad loss at Alabama last year. I'm not comparing this team to Alabama by any stretch of the imagination. And, the betting scandals affected them. Ferentz wants to get Kirk Ferentz has been around forever. All right. He's not worried about any of this stuff. He's worried about getting his team ready. And getting his team ready tends to be not winning games by 4 scores or more on opening day. That's just the Ferentz way. Utah State, not an attractive underdog. The markets have been against them early. I'll take plus 24. I think that's a very reasonable number in a game total at 43. Give me the Aggies plus the points. Week 1, college football. And there's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Lawrence.
Teddy covers great stuff. Guys, we have Dave Sharapan coming on shortly. Before we get into that, Dan, it's the BS strategy with Teddy and the Prez. Put the question up. So this question was asked to us from Chris Lawrence. What's the way to go about teasers? How many teams, how many points, etc.? So this is an interesting question and one that is debated a lot amongst myself and some of my friends and betting colleagues. I'm just going to tell you, for me personally, there are only 2 types of teasers I bet on a regular basis. The first is a 2-team 6 or 6.5, preferably 6-point teaser, where I can get it down to almost a money line. And yes, that sounds like a parlay. A money line parlay. I'm not 100%. Somebody commented yesterday that I hate parlays and I paint too broad a brush with my parlays. Yes, that is true because I'd rather people not do any than try to spend all day looking for one that will work. With that said, I do like to do these 2-team 6-point teasers, but the teaser that I bet most of all is the 3-team 10-point teaser. In the 2-team teaser, I want the line to be somewhere around 7.5. That way I could cross 7 and 3 and get it down to around -1.5 for both teams. In the 3-team 10-point teasers, I like to take dogs up or look for that 9.5, 10.5 and get it to cross all 3 numbers. I personally find the 3-team 10-point teaser the most effective teaser for me personally. Teddy, how do you attack these teasers?
With the math on my side. Stanford
Of course.
Wong wrote a book. It's called Sharp
Yes.
Sports Betting. There's a whole section in there on teasers, and the Wong teaser is now every professional bettor is familiar with the Wong teaser, and that's what you look for. The key in terms of Wong teasers, capturing the key numbers 3, 4, 6, and 7. So you're teasing your favorites from over a touchdown to under a field goal. You're teasing your dogs from under a field goal to over a touchdown. That tends to be 2-team 6-point teasers for this bettor.
Right.
That's the one that I've had success with. Lauren?
So Teddy, listen, I'm with you 100%. And the Wong teaser, I mean, it's religion in our industry, and it's what I do.
It's religion in the industry because it's right. It's religion in the industry because the math is
So
correct.
here's my question.
It's not something like, oh, we believe because Stanford won. No, the math on it plays out. Sorry.
Hey.
I didn't interrupt.
Are you mocking religion?
I am not mocking religion. I'm talking about Stanford
I'm
Wong.
kidding. Here's my question to you, Teddy, because Marco and I have a disagreement all the time on this. In the Wong teaser, are you looking to go up or down more often than not? I am looking to go down. I want a 7.5 at a -1.5. I don't want a +1.5 at a +7.5. So I am looking to take the favorite down. Marco likes to take the dog up.
I like to do both. And it doesn't matter if you're taking the favorite down or the dog up. As long as the math is on your side, you're making positive expectation wagers. When you capture 3, 4, 6, and 7, when you capture those 4 numbers, doesn't matter if you're teasing up or teasing down. It's profitable long term.
Dave Sharapan joining us. Dave, do you do these 3-team 10-pointers or you stick with the 2-team 6-pointers? Any thoughts on how to attack the teaser market in the NFL?
We've done this for years on the Cash Considerations podcast. Our friend Dan Alexander does Teasers Paradise and talks about it all the time. It's all about the numbers. All I heard on Flex Tuesday was Theodore likes to go both ways. Okay, up and down.
Yeah, we also heard that Jimmy Adams doesn't like cocks.
Well,
that's with an X. It's the internet provider. Get your mind out of the gutter.
Man, oh man, I don't want any drama out here,
Dave Sharapan.
You said it, not me. I didn't even know. The X, very different. No, the teasers, listen, the books take the teasers, and the books have changed the price on teasers over the years. I mean, when I was in Curacao, we did the 3-team 10-point teasers. We couldn't write enough of them. And they haven't been as adopted in Vegas. And, I mean, Vegas is probably not the place to play for teasers. It's really getting very expensive. 2-team teasers are getting to be -150 or don't come here and do them. So your options are getting limited here, but elsewhere, wherever you're at, if your books offer teasers, there's definitely value in them. Wong's a genius, and, you know, the numbers, the way the game's played, I don't know, Prez. Taking points is way better than laying points pretty much on a regular basis. So I see an argument for both. Take the favorite down if that's what you like. Take the dog up if that's what you like.
Sure, but are teasers a regular part of your repertoire, Dave? When you bet, And again,
No.
when we talk about teasers, we're talking NFL only, correct? I mean, I
Yes.
know
Yes.
the whole thing with teasers is that you want the lines to be tight. When the lines are at their most accurate, teasers are at their most valuable. So the NFL, the games tend to be very close to the point spread. As anyone who's ever sweated an NFL Sunday will tell you, it's not rare. They tend to be close to the point spread, which is good news for teaser bettors. College football, basketball, would you ever make a teaser in a sport
Never.
other than the NFL?
Nope.
Me
Nope.
neither.
Definitely not. Basketball teasers are the book's favorite thing to do.
Yeah, they're the
for
worst.
customers. You
Yeah.
do
Well,
never.
you know my story.
Don't do them. What? What story?
Yeah, this is a true story. When I before I moved to Vegas, I was a bookie back in Ann Arbor back in the early 90s. And before, we'd never been out to Vegas. We didn't know the rules for teasers. We knew that teasers were 6 points. So the first year we were booking, we gave out NBA teasers 6 points. We didn't
I
know they were
remember
4
this.
points.
Oh.
All year. We couldn't believe how many people. Everyone's calling
And you
us teaser
still
this,
won.
teaser that. We're getting more teaser. We had no idea that we were the ones that were doing it wrong.
But you
know how many
still won.
people beat us? Zero.
Yeah.
With the extra 2 points, which told me everything I need to know about basketball teasers.
Exactly.
I want to ask you about Bet Bash now. All right, you were at
Yes.
Bet Bash last week.
Yep.
You were on the most decorated panel of all time, the most interesting panel of all time that everyone keeps on talking about, the social media panel with you and Darren Ravel and Fez and all those guys.
Yep.
Talk about the conference. Talk about what you learned meeting all the other bettors over at the Circa here in Las Vegas.
My favorite thing about stuff like this is that everybody comes to town in one place, and meeting people face to face, especially for the first time, that you've only known through social media. I mean, you may have seen pictures and you may have had phone conversations, but everything is different in person. And the lesson that I took from the whole thing is that you probably should get to know someone before you talk about them or talk bad about them. It's really interesting because I know so many people, and when someone tells me something about someone that they don't know, but I know them, I just kind of put it in my back pocket, put it in my ear, and leave it in a file, and I go like,
Dave.
come on, you really don't know. So,
Dave,
yes, sir.
why would anybody talk bad about anybody? I mean, it's not like
It's the internet.
Listen, I understand that is what happens all the time, but like the moral of the story is don't talk bad about people. Like
It doesn't need to be done. And then, when you get in person and listen, there was a good argument, Teddy, whether who was the A side, the Billy Walters interview with Spanky or our panel. And I mean, we lived up to it as far as the back and forth and the banter. And the prevailing theme of ours was the misrepresentation of people in the space. You have to seek out good information. Everybody has information and they can spin it any way they want. And just because they have a certain flag on their mic or a nice suit on or a logo on their chest doesn't mean that they are an expert. That goes for life in general. I mean, you have to seek out good information everywhere. Look at politics.
I mean,
look
Dave,
at movie reviews.
Dave, it
All
could
of
be summed up. Dave, it could be summed up just by watching this show. I mean, one of us comes on in a suit. One of us comes on in a T-shirt. Who's the expert?
Well, there's no question. I mean, I got a T-shirt today. It says "Beware of Dave." This was a gag gift.
Yeah.
Someone
So
gave me for my birthday.
always beware of the dressed up man.
Beware.
Yeah.
Dave, let me get some actionable information out of you while we have a few moments right here, because I know the clock is ticking. And the clock is ticking on college football, week 0, week 1.
Yes.
It's been a little bit of a college football centered show today. Let's keep our focus there for a moment or two and talk about some of the teams you're seeing that are attracting betting attention win total wise, and maybe some of the bets you're seeing some of the wise guys making when it comes to week 0 and week 1 in college football. Who are the popular teams right now and who are the popular bet against teams?
Well, it was funny because one of the things that people were talking about at Bet Bash was moving the screen. Okay. They were talking about who's moving the screen, when, and who's playing what. And week 0 is so unique because the lines are up forever. So everybody's like, oh, was that play a move or was that a head fake? Or who's coming here on what? So I don't think that anything you've seen up until now can really be considered real based on what a lot of guys said off of social media and face-to-face. So I think a lot of guys are holding their cards, Teddy. I don't think there's been a lot of talk about week 0. There's more talk about week 1, I guess you call it. That LSU-Florida State game, that one is the one that I think is, I mean, it's a huge handle. It's kind of in a perfect pocket of a lot of handle. There's a good division of both sides. A lot of sharp guys are on LSU for not just that game, but the whole season. That's one of the teams that just keeps coming up in the conversations, LSU.
Brian Kelly's LSU Tigers, popular betting choice among the guys that Dave Sharapan's hanging out with. Those guys tend to be better bettors. Dave, before we let you go, of course, you can follow Dave on Twitter at SportsBKConsig, the Sportsbook Consigliere. It's an excellent follow. Before we let you go, I do want to ask about today's MLB slate. What are you seeing? What's the actual information we can give our audience? Who's betting what, and why are they doing it?
Watch the Phillies and the Toronto Blue Jays. It's nothing against, Carmine and all of our Canadian viewers and everything else, but you get Wheeler at a bargain price. That'll probably be a play. Baltimore just continues to be a dog every single day. One of the most profitable team in baseball. Odds makers don't believe it. People betting don't believe it. That's going to be a play again today against Walker. And boy, oh boy, I don't know what to make of Texas and the Angels. That's, again, a favorite in Texas that the Angels are gone bad. Giolito, bad. They tried. Now, Ohtani's probably not going to play, maybe fatigue, this, that. I'm waiting to get a text from someone that says he's in or out. As soon as you get that confirmation, Texas is going to fly, and they won 12-0 last night. They'll probably win again.
Yeah. Dave, I'm loving what I'm hearing, minus the Philadelphia bet. Zach Wheeler at a pick'em against probably the best story of the year in Kikuchi. You know that Kikuchi has allowed no more than 1 run in his last 5 games. He is a lights-out pitcher. I am not with you there, brother.
That sounds like under.
I agree. I think the under in the first 5, but it's very low, 7.5. And you have a situation where Philadelphia didn't hit well the last 2 games, and they're a team that can hit, regularly. And Toronto has been in the doldrums hitting-wise for the last 2 weeks and finally broke out. So I am nervous about the under in this game because I think the bats might be alive. But, man, I don't know how anyone could bet against Kikuchi right now, especially given that this is a pick'em line.
I like what you're saying, and I love when you use the word doldrums or golf or anything else. I can't wait to see whoever's coming to town this week for the big weekend. It's going to be fun. Hopefully we'll be able to get out to a cookout somebody might be having and all some other stuff. I got a text from Andy Lang last night. I guess dinner didn't go so well, so hopefully we're going to hook up with him tonight. Boys, if you're coming, it'll be great to see you. Prez, I know you're not coming. We're sorry that you have obligations, but that's good. Congratulations on that. And I'm going to keep wearing these glasses.
Hey,
no matter what you say.
Dave, remember this for the rest of your life. What people say about you is none of your business.
I'm putting that
so
on
who
a t-shirt.
Cares? So who the hell cares that I think your glasses? Who the hell cares that I think your glasses are ridiculous? This is my stupid ass opinion. Why should you even give a crap? But look at that bicep.
Check it out, baby.
Look at that. Look at that.
Man, oh man.
Thank you, Dave Sharapan. What do you got to promote?
10 seconds. Sports BK can sing on the Twitter. Bostonia versus the book every day, Monday through Friday. Cash considerations coming out this week on Wednesday. Sports Grid Sirius XM 159, 4 to 7 Pacific. MLB Network, I think, on Thursday. And if you're coming to town and you need a proxy, Brigade Proxy Service. See you boys later. I'll see you this weekend.
Thank you, my friend. Teddy?
Yeah, that's going to wrap it for what's today, Tuesday? That was a heck of a Tuesday show. The Tuesday edition of What You Talk Today. We'll do it again tomorrow, same time, same channel. 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you back east. For my co-host, Lawrence Presman, I'm Teddy Covers. Enjoy the games, and best of luck with your wagers.